I'm Ramsey Chiti and my co-host Tanis. We're here for our final episode of the four episode series. We started with awakening, and then we went into what if scenarios, and we went into imagination, which is the bridge between the manifested and the unmanifested and unmanifested. And today we're going to be discussing value of rituals. But before we go, we'll do the regular introduction. So we'll start with Tanis.
So I am Tanis Coughlin of the Twillo Lifestyle Community, Twillo Lifestyle Academy, and I am a Reiki Master, Crystal Master, Celtic Shamanic High Priestess channel, that kind of stuff.
Hey, and I'm your host, Ramsey Chiti, ramseychiti.net. I'm a psychic medium, intuitive healer, and a spiritual coach. So today is a value of ritual. What are rituals? So one of the simple rituals that we do on a daily basis is that we brush our teeth. That's a ritual. Every morning we get up at the same time. We have the same alarm. We do the same. We take same actions. Brush our teeth, and we're out the door. That's a ritual.
Mm-hmm.
But what the value of it is. And let's talk into more detail when it comes into the spiritual realm. How does it affect us? How does it help us? If it does, and if it doesn't, then why do we do them? For example, Christians go to church, they pray, and they light a candle. It's a ritual. It's a simple ritual. Others do different types of rituals based on their beliefs, based on certain expectations of, I'm not going to go into expectation, but certain beliefs. And I'll ask Tanis, what do you think of rituals, Tanis?
They're a valuable part of our routine, first of all. But, when you get into talking about spiritual rituals, it's really about creating the energy that you're looking to create for yourself for the day. So when you do like morning ritual of meditation, for instance, then that meditation is about, let's raise our vibration to get us to a certain point so that we can go and face the day, kind of thing, right? So I think there's value in ritual in that it's a daily routine, and really we thrive on that. We need routine to make sure that we get things done, like brushing your teeth. We go into autopilot really while we're doing that. So we actually get a whole lot of other stuff done while we're doing ritual, those kind of rituals, the ones that we do every day, right?
You go into the flow with the ritual.
Right.
So basically, which is a beautiful way of saying it, is that when you start doing rituals on a regular basis, like Tana said, it just happens. It happens without the conscious mind actually interfering in the act of the ritual. So what happens is that you don't even think about it. You just flow into it. So if you're preparing to create a business, for example, doing those rituals on a daily basis helps you flow into it, and helps you do something else also. But we'll talk about it. And it helps you flow into it, and then you start doing things easily. You don't think about them. You don't have to stress over them. And stress is one of the basic killers of life. So we don't have to stress over them anymore. They're there. It just flows, and everything moves easily.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. Does ritual ground you?
Depends on the ritual. Is what I would say. I think in general, yes, they do. They ground you in the 3D. If you're like going around your usual morning ritual, you're grounding yourself into your daily routine.
Yes.
Grounding yourself into going forward. So in that sense, yes. But there are some rituals that require more ceremony that is to raise your vibration. Right? So that's why I say it depends. So are you trying to be up here? Or are you trying to be down here? Or are you trying to have that balance? So that's kind of what you're trying to create with ritual.
That's a good point, because I was thinking about it from a balance point of view, rather than raising the vibration. It just kind of grounds you. You're able to get to do your work without having a shattered mind trying to move you away from what is important at that point in time. That was I was thinking about while we started talking. So if you want to raise your vibration, you mentioned a certain ritual that will help you raise your vibration. How do you explain that?
You call in energies to help you with that. So depending on your belief system, I mean, for me being the Celtic shamanic high priestess, I call in spirit guides and stuff to come and be with me, to help me to do, first of all, to do my healing in a sacred space. I sit with them often in meditation, so that also raises your vibration. And because when you start to do meditation, it actually raises your vibration by 25 megahertz to do some meditation. Right? We have vibration. I think I mentioned this on one of the other episodes. But for those of you that didn't see it, we vibrate between 63 and 78 megahertz usually as humans. And then when we have negative thoughts, it brings it down by 12. Positive thought brings it up by 10. So when we actually sit to do some meditation, it actually brings it up by 25. So it's one of those things that can really boost that, because then it allows you to have a little bit more wiggle room. And the reason we want to keep it high is because, all of the high vibration emotions are the ones that we really like to feel, like joy and love and excitement and that sort of thing, right? The low vibration emotions are the ones we don't want to feel. And so that helps us to keep that up. And same with the physical, right? When we get down to in the 50s and 60s, you start feeling run down and all of that stuff. So if you look at it in that way, when you're keeping your vibration high, you're doing your rituals to keep that vibration high, you're keeping your energy levels up, you're keeping your mood up, it keeps you in a good space. So when you're doing the ones that will help you with that, it's beneficial for that reason.
Yeah, one of the things that while I was listening to you is, if I word it differently, is that a ritual channels the energy out of your thinking mind into your subconscious mind, whereby it is actually targeted towards that action that you're trying to do. Like, for example, meditation. You're moving it from one space into the other and expanding that vibration and or raising it.
And I think depending on the ritual that you're doing, it can allow you to focus the energy into a certain thing as well, right? So into manifesting something, which is kind of along what you just said, right? You're trying to manifest the thing that you're actually physically doing, but you can also use rituals to manifest like love, manifest money, all of those kinds of things. So I think we do ritual to build on energies to create in our lives. I think.
Yeah. And if we take it back into last episode, basically the ritual can be created with imagination. So you focus it into an imagination that expands it into the manifested world. That's an added act that we do subconsciously without even realizing it, to help us manifest into to manifest into this world. I do apologize. By the way, guys, it is 1:39 over here in Italy, and it's been a ritual to do this episode at 7:30 at night Montreal time for the past 3 weeks. And on week 4, I had to travel for work, and I couldn't break my ritual. I had to continue the ritual because that will keeps us focused, and will even the people that want to listen to it or be there live for their questions, be available for it. So instead of breaking it, it is 1:30. So I do apologize if I if I snooze a bit, so just
Okay, we'll just poke you and get you awake.
you realize that it's almost 2
Yeah.
a.m. So,
It's all- I
yes,
think that it also has a role in maintaining momentum in your life
yes,
in that way, right? And so
yeah,
it helps you to maintain some momentum that you might have going. And so in business, for instance, if you have a regular ritual that you want to maintain a momentum in terms of productivity, in terms of getting things done, in terms of like have the ritual, you come in and you look at your emails first thing and you get the quick things done, right? So it's habits. It's habits. Rituals can be habits, but they can be much more than that. They can become sacred ceremonial rituals as well.
yeah,
So, it depends on which kind of ritual you're talking about, I think.
yeah, and they can also turn into a negative type of habits. I'll just take smoking for example. I smoked for many years, and smoking is a habit. And I remember when I quit smoking, months later, when I got over the whole thing, actually, so it's over months later. It's closer to a year. One day I was having lunch, and all of a sudden, on autopilot, I started eating quickly. In my mind, saying I have to finish my plate in order to go have my cigarette. And I caught myself while I was thinking it, and I go, "What was that? I haven't smoked in over a year. Like, why is it coming now?" And when I realized that, everything stopped and went back to normal because that ritual ended a while back. And
Yeah.
there was still traces memory in my mind that was trying to come back.
Yeah. It's about those neural pathways, right? They're
Yeah.
still there, but we reroute to other pathways. So they're still created. They don't necessarily go away. We just make stronger pathways doing something else. So
Yeah.
you did still have that pathway there, in order to do it. So I think that's certainly. I think that we do that. We do rituals so that we don't have to think about things, but then we do have to be more conscious of what we're doing. And that's part of the spiritual path, right? Is to become more
Yes.
conscious. So does ritual bring you into that conscious state, or does it take you out of it? That's a question, right? I guess it depends on the ritual.
Sorry, there's a
Got
note
some
I was.
comments. So
As you, there are part of the memory cells actually sankars. I don't know what a sankar is, but yes, you caught it at the right time,
yeah.
and it always comes up, and then you have to catch yourself. It's a journey. It's a
And so
journey.
what triggered it for you? I mean, that's the other question. What triggered that? Why did you all of a sudden think that? Is there something that triggered it in what you were eating? Is it the first time you'd eaten that since you had the new thing?
You're absolutely correct, because when I stopped smoking, and by the way, smoking to me was associated with alcohol and caffeine, and and I had to stop coffee and wine for a long time because I couldn't have one without the other.
Mm,
And then slowly, I reintroduced them in my, uh, no, I introduced them in my life, but without cigarettes,
right.
so that I am over that bad habit. Sorry, it's not a, it's not a smoking anonymous tonight. It's
No,
more,
that's okay though. It's great to bring our personal experience,
yeah,
right? Hmm.
absolutely. So rituals. Let's talk about what type of rituals and what do those types do to us. For example, I'll start by a simple ritual,
Hmm.
which is a prayer,
Hmm.
a nightly prayer. What it does, at least for me, it reconnects me with my center.
Hmm.
It breaks the chatter. I'm more focused on what I'm giving, what I'm saying. It brings me joy through gratitude that I mentioned through the prayer. And it kind of, that's why I said at the beginning, it grounds me.
Mhm.
because before bed, I'm not looking to increase my vibration or raise them, but I am looking into focusing myself, connecting with my inner self, and then from there, go to sleep. That's a simple ritual. And
Mhm.
a lot of people do that. They're either doing during the day, in the morning, or in the evening. It depends on the person. And yes, like you said, it depends on the time and what you're looking for in the ritual. It actually might be to ground or to raise your vibration.
Yeah.
Would would you have an example of other rituals that you might do? For example, let's talk about a full moon ritual or a new moon ritual. I can't
Mhm.
remember which one of them we did last time, or maybe we did them all.
We've done quite a few together, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So those rituals are about bringing the energies in. And, so the new moon is about what do we want to bring forward in our lives for the next month. And the
Mhm.
old moon, or the old moon, the full moon is about releasing what we don't want anymore. Right. So it's like a cycle that we go through with that. So when we're doing the rituals, we have symbolism involved in the ritual in order to create that energy for ourselves.
Mhm.
So if you're getting rid of something, like on the full moon, for instance, you might do a burning ceremony. So you might write down what do you want to release from your life, right? Write it down on a piece of paper, and then maybe you burn it, which transmutes it and allows it to release, right? So that it's like symbolic action for
Mhm.
what you want to create. So that I think symbolism plays a big role in ritual. Um, but it's only a ritual if you're doing it regularly. Otherwise, it's a ceremony. Because
True.
ceremonies are any kind of sacred act that you do, within a sacred space with that attention, connecting to source or God or whatever that is for you. That could be a ceremony. Whereas a ritual is something like that you would do regularly. So it could be a ritual because it might be a monthly ritual that you do every full moon, right? But it could just be the odd ceremony and you do it sometimes. So I think there's a distinction to be made there as well
Yeah.
in terms of that.
I just noted that a ritual is a regularly performed act. So if we do it
Yeah.
regularly, it becomes a ritual. It's very important
Mm-hmm.
because then what happens is that our mind grasps that and puts it part of our daily act. Is like if you don't brush your teeth before going to bed, you go, oh my God, I feel like I have to run. You can't handle that anymore because it becomes a ritual. So it has to be done in order to fulfill. Well, actually, it will be a fulfilling of a need.
Mm-hmm. Oop. Sorry, guys.
Oh, okay.
This is my Facebook. Sorry, I turned it off.
Oh, that's me. I think it's from my end too. Here,
Oh, okay.
I shut off everything. I do apologize.
These technical things. It's all good.
So now I know we're talking about rituals, but I just want to move to another topic for a second. Is that one of our listeners last time was intrigued by how you explained the thoughts, how it goes from the you start from the ground up. It's
Oh,
sorry.
you're talking about like with the elements, like bringing the
Yeah, the
elements.
four elements. Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Hmm. And that's a routine that's a ritual that I would have. I
Yeah.
would do that, right? So regularly, if I sit down for my business stuff, I'm going to bring in fire, which is like the top. So from here, if we
Mhm.
picture a big pyramid from your shoulders up to about a foot above your head, um, that would be symbolic of fire. So that's why I
Mm.
say symbol plays an active role in this too, right? So fire is indicative of like that spark, the idea. Okay. And then from your shoulders to your hips, if you picture a big square, like a cube, that would be air. And so when you bring it into air, then you're like developing the idea. You're bringing in brainstorming about the idea. Then from your hips to your knees, if you picture another cube there, that would be water. It would be equivalent of water. And water is like starting to put it into action, getting into flow, right? Getting into flow, getting things together, getting into flow. And then when you go from your knees to about a foot into the earth and picturing a big sphere, that would be symbolic of earth. And that's where you're grounding it in, taking it and doing it. And it's actually happening and it's creating. And so that's really it. So that's how you can sort of utilize the elements as you go into this. And so oftentimes I recommend my clients use the 4 elements on an altar in order to create. And that's part of why, because it does help you to bring in those energies of inspiration, of idea development, of getting into the flow and of actually bringing it down to earth to manifest it. And so that, and also, I mean, what happens when you have all 4 elements and spirit involved, that's alchemy, it's magic, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're creating magic, great things can happen.
One of the rituals that I do, maybe not on a daily basis, but a couple of times a week, is like you mentioned, the 4 elements. I get a candle, a glass of water. I call incense as the earth because the ashes that comes out of it. And I consider myself as a central element, the air.
Mhm.
So I start by lighting the fire,
Yep.
bringing myself into the altar. The water is there, and then the incense starts doing its thing, and it just falling down and grounding whatever idea that I put in, and I allow it to manifest on its own.
Mhm.
And that's I do this a couple of times a week. I find it helps a lot. It connects me to the spirit, because when I call on them, this week it's your turn. For those who weren't here last time, while Tanis was speaking, I drank tea and I choked on it. I do apologize. I don't mean to make you laugh while you're swallowing. So this time around, I had my tea before the call, and I said, "Oh no, just in case, I just want to make sure that,
I
that
just
I
have a
don't."
little tickle. I think somebody in the audience has something going on with their throat chakra. And so
Oh,
it's about
so
speaking your truth.
2 things to the listeners. If somebody has any questions, please do post them, and we'll be able to answer them right now. And if you don't get the chance to post your questions today, if you didn't see it live, and you have more questions, or you have ideas that you want us to discuss, please forward them to either myself or to Tanis. You can find us on Facebook or on our web pages, twillowlifestyle.com.
CA.
.ca. I do apologize, and ramseycheaty.net.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I thought like I'll make this clear at the beginning, so that just in case somebody, because last time we never mentioned these things,
It's true.
and I got them from a colleague of mine, and she brought me a couple of questions. Somebody else brought something else, and I go, "Oh, that's interesting," because it's good to rehash a certain topic that someone might need more detail about, or would like more explanation, or whatever it is. Or sometimes it's just they didn't grasp it the first time,
Mm-hmm. Well,
and just
we're all
repeating
ready
it.
to hear at certain times too. So
Right.
sometimes we're just not ready to hear it in the context that it's presented too.
Absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And one of the key things of rituals is that when you're focusing on something and you want it, one of the law of attraction, it says the universe will conspire to get you that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it sounds very interesting, but maybe the universe is not just sitting there waiting for you to do something. the universe is already giving you everything that you need, but
Yeah.
you're actually now more focused to acquire that thing that is already presented to you ahead of time.
So I sort of feel like universe is the one that would put that spark, the
Hmm.
idea, right?
Yeah.
And they might help in the air process, the building, the ideas, and brainstorming about the how. And then the getting in the flow starts to become ours, right?
Hmm.
It starts to become our responsibility to act on things. So when we're grounding it in, that's definitely us. That's our stuff. We have to actually physically do stuff and
Yes,
bring it
absolutely.
down. So that's what I would. So we have somebody that says related to intention and attention. Yes,
Pay
exactly.
attention to your intention so that it manifests.
Yes, because
Absolutely.
we are we're very powerful beings, right? Our thoughts can create, our words create. I mentioned magic a minute ago, uh, and magic is just the creation of things by combining all four elements and energy.
The soup,
The soup. Hmm.
the witch's brew,
The witch's brew, exactly.
which is
Exactly.
adding all these elements in there,
Hmm.
and it creates something.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the first time I heard it from Tanis, I was saying, "What?"
Did we talk about that last week?
No, we did not.
No? Okay.
So it's good to bring it up.
Okay. Yeah. So, people get all like about witch's brew and all of that. And, I always remind people that it's bringing four elements together and adding energy. And that's how you create magic, right?
Mm.
We do magic every day. There's magic in everything. So some people see magic as actually the energy piece. Others, we create it every day just by doing soup, for instance, right? We have all four elements and we often put energy because we're stirring it. So the four elements in soup, you'd be using your stove, or if you're, camping or something, fire. You have a pot and you'd have water in there to create the broth. You would have like vegetables or something like that in there, which would be earth. And then you would like put spices and stuff in it, which is aromatic, which is representative of air. You're also creating steam because you're going to boil it. So that's
Hmm.
also air. And then when we put energy, we're often like putting our love into soup, especially if we're making it for somebody who's sick. Chicken noodle soup,
Hmm.
right? You're putting love in there and it holds that. If you, I remember talking to a friend who was super sensitive, and I remember her talking about going to a restaurant, and it was a regular restaurant that she would go to. And one day she went in and everything tasted really off, and she didn't know why. And she ended up asking, and the chef came out to talk to them, and he was in a really bad mood because water is super programmable,
Hmm.
right? And water is in everything. So as you're preparing your food, you're actually infusing it with the energy, especially if you're making stuff from scratch. And so the chef's mood had affected the flavor of the food. It had changed the usual flavor of the food because he was usually always in such a great mood, and so they loved the food there and they would go regularly. This time, not so much. And it was all about his mood and the energy that he was putting in.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Because usually chefs are very proud of their creation,
mhm,
and their creation is an art of work. It's a work of art.
mhm,
I'm starting to. It's a work of art. So they put all their love and all their attention, and they go into a flow through their ritual to create it.
mhm,
So any deviation within their own energy affects the outcome of the plate,
mhm,
because, like you said, it infused. And I believe last I'm not sure if it's the last episode or the episode before, when you talked about the Japanese
Mm.
guy with the water.
Yeah, Masaru Emoto.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Where
And the
he did
water
the
study.
experiment on water, and he put a note, I love you and I hate you, and how the molecule of the water changed.
Hmm. And when they froze those, like the hate you one was this globular mess, and the one that said I love you was a beautiful snowflake pattern when he
Yeah.
froze it. So that was what happened to their food that day. So, be careful what energy you're putting in your food. Because also,
Yes.
when we're doing that for ourselves, that's what we're putting in our body. And that's
So
why it's important to love yourself.
thank you. Thank you. It turns to that point at the end of the day, because what we're doing is we are programming our the molecule within us, our
Hmm.
water, through our thoughts.
Hmm.
And our thoughts become rituals that we don't pay attention to, that they start to consume us on a daily basis, and it becomes a vicious circle. You can't get yourself out of it, and you just go through it. It's like a raging river
Hmm.
until you manage to go on shore and realize what you're doing and cut the flow. Once you're on shore, you start to, oh yeah, and I love myself, and this is wasn't the right thing, and then your whole body starts to change.
Hmm.
And when your body starts to change, you're emitting loving energy,
Hmm.
positive, high vibrational energy. And what that does, it attracts people with high vibrational loving energies.
Hmm. It does.
And
Because like
that was,
like.
yes. We also mentioned that in the last episode, but this time it creates a fusion. It's, you can call it, it's like a nuclear bomb of love. When you gather people with the same intention, and you put them in the same, well, they don't have to be in the same room, but they have to have the same intention, focusing on the same thing, which is coming out of love, it creates magic.
It does.
It creates magic. Observation. Sorry, we have a note over here.
Observation and discernment in order to get back into it with a higher frequency and solution.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that one of the differences between sort of positive or high vibration rituals versus low vibration rituals is what we bring to it, right? Are we bringing our attention and intention
Mm-hmm.
to the ritual, or are we just glazing through it? Because if we're just glazing through it, one, we're not really in the moment. We're thinking about other things, which that takes away from enjoyment in the moment. And we all do this so much. We're thinking about 10 different things while we're trying to do this. Think about supper routine in a busy household, right? You've got kids doing homework, you've got this one asking for this, you got that one and somebody else is like, how do I do laundry? And you've got all of this happening, and you're trying to stir that soup with love. So really, you have to be really intentional about, I'm putting love in here, because otherwise you've got all of this other energy going on, this chaos behind you. So being intentional about, okay, I'm putting love in this. That can really help change up that thing too, because people come home and they're like wound up. And
Yes.
how do you bring your family down, right? Put love into the food, raise their vibration, creates that natural calm, along with other things like, essential oils in a diffuser or something like that. But it's just some of those little tricks that you can do to help balance
And a
things.
glass of wine helps sometimes. But
Sometimes.
that's for another episode.
Sometimes. And water can ground you. So, as can tea. Yep.
Actually, you're right. Tea comes from the earth,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it's very grounding. It just, because, again, it's the part of infusing love into it. So when you get a high grade tea, And it's coming from, and I'm saying that because I used to go get, in the old days, I used to travel to China, and I'll go get the fresh tea that they harvest. And it's all harvested by hand. So they dry it by hand and they put jasmine on top of it and so on and so forth. There's a whole process. And I buy them, and they have such an amazing flavor to it, and grounding. When you go, or when a couple of times I bought commercial ones that you find them in the supermarket, that stressed people pass by them on a daily basis, that angry people pass by them on a daily basis, because after a long day and you're rushing into the supermarket, you want to get your stuff, you want to run, and you want to do everything at the same time. There's a vibration within it that resonates and sits in that space. And that space is holding the tea. And the tea is absorbing it. And then it's going into your infusion, that's going into your body, that stresses you instead of calming you. See, there's the effect of it is now on the reverse side.
Right. That's where, if you were to stir it with intention, I'm putting love into this tea, then you're raising the vibration of the tea before you actually put it in.
Yeah. You can hold your cup. Okay, don't put it like this because you're going to burn yourself. This is cold. I already finished my tea before the call. And just have a good intention. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to call on anybody. You don't need to focus. But you just still need to focus. But just put a loving energy and put your hand, wrap it around it. It changes the structure of the water. So if it has all these negative emotions that it attracted from everywhere, if it's in a supermarket, and I just mentioned supermarket as an example, you diffuse that. You can diffuse that, and try it even when you go to restaurants. There used to be. In the old days, everybody used to bless their food before they eat it, which is not a ritual anymore. But that ritual is to change the vibration of the food to raise it into a loving energy. And when it's consumed, then it tastes better, and it actually make your mood change into better. And that's why we all love food, because it's a comfort thing. It makes us happy.
Yeah. And why did we get programmed that way? Because we used to put happy thoughts in our food.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's why, when they talk about the difference between organic and non-organic too, because the organic requires more energy. It requires more manpower. It requires more tending. And what are you doing when you're tending? You're giving the fruits and vegetables attention and love to grow. And that gets into the fruits and vegetables. So that it'll hold it, especially if you're doing it when they're little, right? You're making them grow in a really rich way.
Yeah. That's why when you grow your own tomatoes in the summer, us in Canada, we have like 2 months to 2 days of summer.
Feels like it. Which, by the way, I'm quite ready for now.
When we grow our own tomatoes in the summer, they taste phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because we actually put our energy into it. Like you said, we do attend to it from a small little thing. It's either a seed or we buy a plant, but we start taking care of it the minute we put it in the ground. We water it, we prune it, we take care of it, make sure it's in the sun, and we do all these acts of love.
And talk to it.
Wow.
Some of us.
Oh my God, what a beautiful tomato.
Yeah.
Don't you go like that? So you're talking to it sometimes. Huh?
Yeah. You can
Maybe
talk.
it's only me.
No. I once I didn't realize how much consciousness plants and trees and that had until we were cutting down one of our trees. We had to, because it
Oh,
was going to fall on the track, the train track that runs behind our house, and on some wires and stuff, because it was diseased, and so it was going to fall anyway. So we had to cut it, unfortunately, and it's in a grouping. It was in a grouping of, there were 6 of them, and I was sad that we were cutting it, but not like, I was like, well, we have to, you know. And I was sitting there reading when the guys were actually cutting it. All of a sudden, I started to cry, and I'm like, why am I crying? I mean, I am an empath, so I pick up on the energies around me. But I tapped into it, and the trees were so sad. They were losing their friend. I was like, oh, I had never felt that before. So that was quite fascinating to me.
it's
So you
interesting.
really
Yeah.
can communicate with plants, right? I mean, trees are larger, so maybe they're a little easier to hear because we don't listen well. As humans, we tend to just listen to our 3D hearing as opposed to the other. But if we actually take the time to listen to the plants, you may find that you actually feel, hear, see something coming from them, because they do communicate. Yeah.
And that goes to all the tree huggers out there,
Yep.
including me.
Yep.
When you actually hold a tree and close your eyes, you can actually feel the communication or the flow of energy. Instead of
Mhm.
calling it communication, you can feel the flow of energy in the tree, in the trunk. You can feel it. It's going up and down. And and if you focus and allow a cleansing to happen for yourself, it will drag it down, take it out of you into the ground, and clears you. And all you get is just this beautiful energy coming out of the tree. It's one of the most beautiful things that I've ever experienced. And for non tree huggers, guys, you're missing out.
You are. It's a beautiful energy. They're
Yeah.
so loving. We just had a comment. True, a plant cut off in front of another plant. The other plant dies too, in compassion and feel of injustice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good one.
In that light, I mean, I ended up talking to the trees that were left, and expressing my condolences, and and really, like, explaining why and that sort of thing. And so fortunately mine have not died. I have 5 beautiful trees in a circle out there in the back, which is awesome. And yeah. But yeah, I've heard that plants are all connected. I mean, the trees, I saw something somewhere, that trees are all connected all over the world through their roots.
Oh,
So whether it's real roots or energetic, they all become connected. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
so that brings us to the 2 episodes ago when we discussed energy and the connectiveness of the, let's call it the web across the globe, where
Hmm.
we're all connected as humans, animals, and I guess plants too, are part of the same grid where we can talk to each other across distances
Collective
before the
conscious.
internet came about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So,
we're
and that's,
telepathic.
yeah.
We really do. We all have the ability to be telepathic. We've just we've never exercised that muscle.
Hmm.
So when we're hearing, so when Ramsey and I are getting messages, for instance, we're hearing telepathic messages from other beings or source or trees in some cases. um, it's telepathic messages because we do have the capacity as human beings to do that.
Yeah.
We just don't exercise it. So when you don't exercise it, you can't use it right away. So as you start to exercise it more, then it starts
Start
to
to
be
see more.
easier to tap in, right? Tapping into that. And it's a way of listening. How do we listen to the collective?
Yeah. And one of the key things is to keep what we discussed. And I can't, our not our energy field.
Mhm.
I was going to say the bubble because I find it so easy, like, and I couldn't find the other words. Keeping our energy field clear and clean.
Yeah,
And by doing that, it's easy to receive the messages.
that's right.
For example, I went into a place and they were meditating and they called on Jesus to whatever it was, the meditation. And I had no idea. I was driving and I got there and I walk in and I go, oh, Jesus is here. What happened? And my friend goes, oh, you can see him? I said, yeah. Like
Yeah,
I
like over
walked in and I had this. He goes, yeah, we've been meditating on that to bring in the love energy
there. Mhm.
or the Christ energy into the room to raise our vibrations and stuff. I said, well, you did a good job.
Yeah, and
And
that was a
and
ritual, right? Because they probably
yes,
do that each time they meet. They call that in so that they have that vibrational frequency.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And by clearing, you connect easily. It's not
That's right.
something. It's not a hocus pocus like we used to think. It's
Mhm.
actually scientifically proven that these things are easy to read and easy to pick up. Now, same way when you walk into a room and two people had an argument before, you can easily feel that there was something, there's tension in the air.
Mhm. I mean, we have that expression, right? You could cut the air with a knife. You'd have to have a knife to cut the air,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I've I always joke about one of the workplaces I was in. I needed a chainsaw, but
That's just okay.
toxic workplace. Yeah.
So that's why in even at work,
Mhm.
if the boss is let's use the word toxic, then the whole company vibrates at a different levels.
Mhm.
And when that happens, people don't feel good. They get sick,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they just need for the need of working. They stay in their job, not realizing that they're actually poisoning themselves by
Yeah.
attracting or absorbing other people's energies.
Mhm.
So that's why it's better if there's a toxic environment to change.
Yeah. Whether you change jobs or whether you know, the higher ups bring in
Yeah,
coaches to figure it out, right? I mean, I've worked with some leaders as well because there was that sort of an issue, and you have to have them change in order to have the change as you go down, because you're all connected energetically, and the closer you work together, the stronger those ties become, and so there's more of an energy exchange, and you're in each other's environment all day.
all the time. Yeah. Most of the time, most of your life is at work.
Mhm.
So yes, you're right.
Especially us
And
entrepreneurs, it's at home, but it's at work. It's work.
yeah, but it's still you're still absorbing the stress of the boss if he calls you, and well, you don't know, but what the mind does, it takes previous pictures and says, ah, this is what's going to happen, and guess what, it will happen, and then
Mhm.
you're even stressed more and more, and that does not help.
No,
See,
because then
and
you're creating the energy too, right?
yes, it's
And
it's,
that's
it's a
we
loop.
have to realize that we play a role in those kind of
Yes,
situations, right? Yes, the boss's energy might be poor that day, but when we realize that he's the same as he was last week when he yelled at so and so or whatever, and we get anxious, then we're actually like, that's manifesting that because you're bringing that energy in, right? So we play a role in managing the energy around us. No, we don't want to
absolutely.
go out and start fixing everybody else, but we are all responsible for our own actions and reactions, whether it's verbal, physical, or energetic, right? And so that's why it's so important for people to start to understand their own energy
Mm.
and what they create with that energy. Because I don't know about you, but being a physical empath, if somebody says a cutting remark or something in the room, it might not even be directed at me, But if it's like a really negative kind of remark, the energy that comes with that, I will actually feel it physically if that comes at me.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be toxic if you have that all the time. So that's, but I can't do anything with their energy. All I can do is guard my own energy in terms of, making sure that my vibration is high enough that if I take a hit, I'm still going to be in that upper range, right? Making sure that I do some tubing or something, so that I'm putting an energetic barrier between me and that kind of thing. And then that helps to create a more comfortable environment for myself. But if you're in that every day, that both parts play a role. You have a choice of whether to stay. You have a choice of how you're going to handle that energy that's being thrown at you.
Absolutely. One Facebook user said it's a protection shield,
Mm-hmm.
which is true. And one of the techniques that I used in the old days was to create a cube of mirrors
Mm-hmm.
reflecting to the outside, so that the energy of the person, of the toxic person, does not affect me.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes also discipline
Mm-hmm.
and work on yourself in order for it to deflect properly.
So have you ever tried that with a mirror ball?
Mirror ball. No.
Mm-hmm.
Do
I
tell.
played with it as a disco ball.
Just put light on it.
Just for fun. Yeah, just a disco ball. So that I was surrounded in a disco ball and the energy just went out, and I pictured it creating pretty patterns. So it made light of it, and it created a lighter vibration by doing that, just because it was fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cube or immerse. Oh,
Cube
I'm not
of
sure what immerse is.
immerse. Not sure. Yeah, so I mean, I often will have people do a tubing, and the tubing. Well, shall we do it? Do we want to do that one? We can
Go
have
ahead.
people do it if you like. So if you want to just close your eyes, I want you to just feel the energy around you in your space. Okay, just feel what that feels like right now, and then I just want you to repeat after me. Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel,
Archangel Uriel,
and Archangel Raphael.
Archangel Raphael.
If it's appropriate.
If it's appropriate.
For as long as it's appropriate.
For as long as it's appropriate.
Please tube me.
Please tube me.
And then just feel this big tube of light that comes down around you. And that is one of my rituals. So I do that one at least once a day, if not twice. Sometimes 3 times if I'm going out into the stores or networking or something like that. It was a cube of mirrors, not mirrors, mirrors. Facing outside.
Oh, yeah.
They were looking for clarification on what that cube was.
Okay.
So,
And I was trying to find what immerse meant. I do apologize. It's mirrors, yes. Because a mirror reflects an image, and it reflects the energy of that image. So you're kind of putting a shield around you through mirrors. So it just deflects all this energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And actually, the exercise that you just did is a very good exercise, and I find it helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when we do visualization, which is the imagination,
Mm-hmm.
and you put that tube of light, and we all have our own little way of seeing things. Mine, I put it with the zipper, and I find that while I'm closing it up, I feel the energy around, like getting sealed, and all the way to the top.
So you put yourself in a sleeping bag. Sleeping bag of light. That's what he uses. That's awesome.
Yes, and each one has its own way, but it's just whatever feels good. Use it. Use it. Use your imagination. Come up with your own way to protect yourself. It's not a standard that you have to use. Go
That's right.
wild with it.
Hmm. I
Go
know some
wild
people
with
that
it.
use a cape, for instance, as a visual. So they'll
Mhm.
imagine putting on the hood and then wrapping the cape, kind of like the Harry Potter invisibility cape or whatever they use.
Oh, I
You know,
want one.
something like that. Yeah. So that's another way of doing it.
Mhm.
And then the ball, I've seen that done also, not just of mirror but of light, or of like of crystal, like a crystal that will deflect, uh,
Mhm.
or what's the other one I've seen, like a blue light, because some of the ensophic energy when you bring it in is like a blue light, and that can be quite powerful. So, or the egg shape, of course.
Mhm.
Mhm. So
Sorry,
awesome.
while you're mentioning these, I'm putting the websites so
Awesome.
that for future questions or if you want to see different episodes, because although this is the last one of the series of four, and we do come to a conclusion, to conclude those the series is we're preparing for another set.
Mhm.
So if you do have any topics that you'd like to listen to, topic of interest, or something that you'd like to learn more about, please let us know. We'll
Mhm.
prepare, we'll add them to our next set of series so that we can discuss them and pass on the information to you, the viewers.
Mhm. And should we share our other project that we're working on as well?
We can definitely do. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So we're actually also, Ramsey and I are working on a set of classes for psychic development and mediumship. Connection to higher self permanently. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that. I think it's good to talk about the higher self for sure. That's something that we all need to connect to.
Yes.
So it's a
Maybe.
great way to pull down that information that we get. You're welcome. That's a great idea. And there's
Yeah,
some
I'm
really
writing
powerful
it down so
meditations
that,
for that.
pardon?
There's some really powerful meditations for that too, connecting with your higher self. So,
Yes.
mhm, indeed. So yeah, so we're working on this project, psychic development and mediumship development. It'll have some of psychic skills. It'll have some mediumship skills. It'll have channeling and what that means, and the types of channeling. So stay tuned. We're going to be we're going to be doing some fun stuff with the Twilla Lifestyle Academy. We're going to be putting it on through there. So keep tuned to that website, and I'm sure that Ramsey will be putting it as on his website as well. So
Oh,
either
definitely.
one,
Yeah.
yeah. So that'll
Yeah.
be fun.
So that's actually an interesting program that we're setting up together. It's the psychic development. It is phenomenal. It helps you from a personal development
Hmm.
and also gives you the tool to be able to connect to either your spirit guide, to be able to connect, well, to yourself. We're
Hmm.
talking about higher self, but that, of course, at a more advanced level, but the beginners level, which we're starting with, and it gives you the ability to be able to do psychic readings,
Hmm.
which is very interesting.
It's fun.
Because when I started my journey, I never knew I could do that, and then all of a sudden, I do more than that, and it was. I don't want to say it's interesting or it's wonderful or whatever it is adjective that I want to pull out of it to add to it, but what I want to say is it helped me release a lot of my old angers and old hurts and old whatever it is that we carry on for bloody years. It
Hmm.
helped me just offload them and become a bit more lighter.
Mhm.
And of course, it never ends. But once you have this feeling of lightness, then you start realizing, oh my God, there's more than me in the room or two people in the room. There's other stuff that are happening,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to tap into it. And it's actually an awesome feeling to be able to, oh yeah, I shouldn't be going that far. I shouldn't be saying certain things, or let me help that person. And one of the key, oh, sorry, I'm blabbing right now.
No, go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
one of the things that I realized is that when we get on a Zoom calls for meditation or other type of calls, for some reason, I can call it spirit, I can call it my guide, I can call it my intuition, but whatever you want to call it, it's yours to define it. But I got drawn to one person.
Mhm.
And actually, that person is the person that needs help the most.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get messages that helps that person, which I relay them in private, or I end up coaching that person afterwards to help them overcome whatever issues that they were holding. And I find that extremely rewarding.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is rewarding to see another person find their center
Mhm.
and shine.
It's those light bulb moments, right? Because the
Oh, yeah.
healing journey is all about self-discovery.
Yes.
So when they have a light bulb moment about themselves, about something, well, kind of like your moment that you spoke of earlier, when you realized that you were having a triggered response about the cigarette,
Yeah.
your light bulb moment was, oh, yeah, I don't need to do that anymore. Right? So you have that light bulb moment, the realization that that neural pathway is still there, but it's changed, right? You're not doing that one anymore.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
mhm. We have some new people coming on.
Yeah.
Hello.
We're actually about to wrap our call for tonight, or for me for this morning.
Yes.
It is only 2:30 over here in Italy, 2:30 a.m.
Yes.
and I have to get up in 4 hours to go to work.
Oh,
But it's all good. So if
that's how much
anybody
he
has,
loves you guys.
pardon?
I said that's how much he loves you all. He came on.
So if anybody has any questions you'd like to ask before we wrap it up, we're open. I did put in our website so that you can connect with us, or if you have questions, you can send it to us, or if you'd like to send us what you'd like to learn about or to listen about for the next series. I am no longer trying to get to let go. My aha moment came to me last week, and I decided to. Oh, but that is beautiful.
Mhm.
When
Yeah,
we
allowing the
surrender,
energy to move through, right? And that's what emotions are, is energy.
yes.
So when we surrender, go ahead, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's
I was all
absolutely what I was.
excited. I
It
got
was
all
like,
excited.
whew.
Yeah, when you can surrender to it, you can allow that energy to move. And
Yeah,
so it's not, that's the letting go piece when they talk about letting go.
that's it. Once you get to that point, you're there
Mhm.
because there's nothing else to do. This is it. Just let go, allow it to flow, and things will be perfect.
Mhm.
Wow, lucky you.
Because you're in Italy.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. Sorry, it's not too late. Rewatch from the beginning. Yes, just allowing the best way to deal with heavy energies, emotions, or energies. Just realized this recently. Surrender to the unknown. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Surrender is the key to all of that.
But I still tube myself. Yes. Good.
Oh, that is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. It's okay.
yeah.
Yes.
The tube and the tubing that we just did there, it's all light. So it transmutes the denser energies. So even if there are some there, you may find that you get a little teary actually the first time you do it, or the second time, or, if you're in a bad mood and you try to do it, you may get a little teary because sometimes there's no more room in there to put in light. So we have to clear out some of the denser stuff to bring in more light. Sometimes
Yes.
we have to release, and I don't know, some of us release through tears. So so yes, so that's sometimes how we process, right? I joke, I'm crying, I'm just processing.
Actually, that is one of the good things, is that when sometimes, not everybody does it, or not everybody allows it to flow in such a fashion, but when it happens, it's a huge, huge release.
Yeah,
It's a huge release,
definitely.
because whatever was bottled up, even in the afterlife,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they come with a heavy burden that they kept with them to this life, to the afterlife, and they still carry it unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that because what was it, last week or the week before? I can't remember. Anyways, crying is part of healing and important to release. Absolutely.
Yes, for
So
sure.
I got somebody whose grandmother passed away, and she was holding a burden, and she came to apologize. And the way I perceive the spirit, sometimes it comes with emotions, a lot of emotions. I feel what they're feeling. And there was a lot of crying and releasing, not from my end. I was just the channel for it to go, for the spirit to relieve itself, to let go of the burden that it's carrying, and for the living actually to also let go of that burden of, you didn't protect me, or whatever it is that was that thing. It's an exchange of energy, of release completely. It's a wonderful thing, actually. It is a wonderful thing. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness and repenting is part of the key to help release this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and
everyone,
I
yeah,
think that's one of the one of my I just feel really honored to be able to be part of people's process in that way, as I'm sure you do, to facilitate that kind of healing on a
absolutely.
regular basis as practitioners. I'm just honored to be able to be part of people's journey in that way.
Same here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So everyone, I would like to thank you. Before I thank you, I would like to thank my co-host, Tanis. Thank you very much. It was an awesome experience,
Thank you.
and we will do that again.
Thank you.
And also, we like Tanis mentioned before, there's a course that is coming up soon. It will be posted on Facebook, so you'll see it, or you'll see it on our websites also. It will be posted on the website. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, we'll see you during the course, and of course, in the second set of series. Please send us your request, and we'll take care of
Mm-hmm.
that. And on
Awesome.
that note, good morning to me, good afternoon to you, or evening. Yes, it's evening to you. Yes, good evening. Have a wonderful evening, sweet dreams, and we'll see you soon. And
Thank
thank
you
you.
all.
I'll enjoy Italy. Trust me, the wine and the cold cuts over here is just phenomenal. I can't explain it. And the pasta. Oh,
Awesome. Thank you all.
thank,
Sending you lots
thank,
of love.
thank you. Thank you all.